everyone, this is my guide on how to play a Duel Betwixt Us, a comedy game of manners and mayhem. Okay, first things first, shuffle the trick, event and item cards together to make the draw deck. This is what it should look like when it's together, and each player chooses a character. Each player takes 4 favours. This is what you will win from your opponent if you beat them in a duel, or also 2 minors, but we'll come on to that later. So this is how the first player's card should look. They have 4 favours. They have 5 minors, doesn't matter who they are, they have their character card, and they take 5 cards from the top of the draw deck. The second player, who is going second, takes 6 cards. If either of you don't have any weapons in your hand costing either a silver 2 or a copper 1, you can reveal your hand to the opponent, shuffle it back into the draw pile and draw a new hand. If one player chooses to do this, the opponent may also do it, but they do not have to. You can do this multiple times if needed. To point out what I mean, that's the number 2. If you have a 2 or a 1 and it's a weapon, you're fine. If you don't, you must retake some cards. This is how one player's side should look. We have the 4 favour cards, the cards from the draw pile, the minor cards, the character card, spare zombie and minor cards. They're the same thing, just different types of human, I guess. And the reference card. Then you have your different mines. So we have a copper mine here. We have a silver mine here, and we have a gold mine here. To get a card from one of these, which you must use to buy things in the game, for 3 to earn 1 gold card, you would have to have 3 miners here. For silver, you would have to have 2, and for copper, you would have to have 1. So if you had 3 miners on your copper, you would gain 3 copper cards per turn. On your first turn, you take 2 cards from the draw pile. You keep 1, you trash 1 and another to the discard pile. Next, you assign the minor to a mine. You can only do 1 each turn, and I'm going to place my first miner on the copper so that I'm getting a copper on my next go. You can only do this once, and per turn you can add 1 miner and you can replace 1 miner. So if I had 1 miner on gold and I wanted an extra on silver, I could take that miner there and there. That's classed as an additional move to adding 1. Through the game, you will spend your mind ore and your ingots on cards. So here in the corner, you will see a cost. If it is a 1 with a brassy colour, that means you spend 1 copper card. Basically, if it's a coloured number circle, you have to pay with that type of ingot. So for example, I would have to pay with a silver ingot for this card here because of the circle. If it was a black circle, you can use any combination of these ingots. So if it was a 2 and it had a black circle, you could use a silver, 2 copper, or 1 gold, but you will not gain back the 1 that you have overpaid. Okay, so the steps of a turn. Now you've started the first turn, here's how you carry on. At the beginning of your turn, you draw 2 cards, keep 1 and trash the other, just as at the beginning of the game. You then assign a miner and move a miner if wanted. You then gather your ingots. So if you had 2 miners on copper, you would gain 2 copper cards. If you had 3 on gold, you would gain 1 gold card. 2 on silver, 1 silver card. So the number is how many people you need to have on mining that ore for 1 of those cards. After you've gathered your ingots, you can then buy items and events. So you can use the cards that you've been given through the draw deck to maybe increase an ingot score to a 2 to a 3, or which is called alchemy, or to make it harder for another person to do something. You can then spend money on weapons and get some weapons to put them down to equip them, and you then need to build them by adding ingots to those as well. I'll find an example. For example, here, this has 2 ingot spaces. These rectangles are an ingot space. It has 2 ingot slots, fills 1 hand. So this means that you can have something in your other hand while using this. This is a shield, so it's defense, and it has 2 ingot slots. So if I was to put an ingot slot of 3 and a 1 on there, it would have a total of 4 defense. If I was to put 2 3s, it would be 6, 2 2s, 4. Any combination, you just add up the numbers. Filled up the ingot spaces, so here we have 2 ingots on the 2 card spaces. This means that this item is now complete and ready to be able to be used. So while the first card I showed you had a space for 2 ingots, as we can see here, these have more. So right here, this fills 2 hands and has 3 ingot slots. So for this item to be complete, you'll first play it using a 3, a gold card, and then that becomes equipped, and then to build it you have to place 3 different ingot cards underneath here, and again the numbers of the ore is how much strength it would have. So if you had 3 gold ores, it would equal 9 damage. If you use 2 silver and a copper, it would be 5. Any combination is possible. It doesn't have to be any certain way. It's whatever you can play during the game, whatever you think is strategically better. On this card we have one with 4 ingot spaces, and again these need to all be complete before you can use this item in a duel. Okay, so let's talk about the rules of a duel. As long as you own at least 1 completed item, you may end your turn by declaring a duel. To do so, you flip a single card from the duel pile so that it's face up alongside the duel pile. You will always have 3 cards face up. If you have more than 3 cards, you take one back and you do not flip a new one into play. There must always be 3. You may pick any of the face up jewels on the table to challenge your opponent to, as long as you have a completed item allowed by that card. So note that any items you bought this turn aren't allowed. It must be a previous turn or on your next turn. If you do pick a jewel, put that jewel card aside into the discard pile. It's time to enter combat. So, combat. The attacker selects their equipment. Upon choosing a jewel, the aggressor immediately announces which items they'll be taken into combat. You can't take any item into combat on the same turn you bought it from your hand. Armour, which is helmets and codpieces, are always allowed in combat and always worn unless the jewels card rules explicitly forbid it. You can't wear multiple helmets on your head, and nor can you gauge your nether regions with multiple codpieces. If you have more than one of either, select which to wear. Unless the jewels card say otherwise, players can bring as many items as can be carried with their 2 hands. For example, they could bring a single weapon which fills 2 hands, e.g. a claymore sword, 2 weapons which fills 1 hand, e.g. attack hammer and a dagger, or a single weapon which fills 1 hand plus a shield which fills 1 hand. The defender then selects their equipment. If the defender has no valid items to that duel, they take no items at all. Next is play tricks. Combat has begun. If they have ingots left to pay for them, players may now choose to play tricks, which are the pale orange cards, to alter the course of combat. Tally damage, destroy ingots with crushing, and declare a victor. So, once neither player wishes to play any more tricks, total damage is calculated this way. The attack value of a player's weapon minus the defence of the opponent, taking any tricks into account. The player who inflicts the most damage to his opponent wins, as long as it's more than 0. If the duel is a draw, neither player takes a prize, and prizes are explained later on. Crushing weapon is brought to combat. Its owner may select an ingot from an armour or shield from his opponent to combat to be destroyed after total damage is calculated. That ingot could not be replaced. If no ingots remain on the item, it is discarded. The destroyed ingot is returned to the mine from whence it came. So here is an example of a duel. We have a first player who has a shield with a defence of 1. They have a crushing warhammer with a total of 3, 5, 7, so that's their damage. They have a defence of 1, a damage of 7. The enemy has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they have 5 damage and a defence of 2. So let's see. Okay, so we've got 7 here, minus 2. So this team takes 5 damage. They do 5 damage and this team defends 1. So this takes 4 damage. So this team would win. They would then gain either 2 new miners or a favour, one of the rose cards. Just a little tip is that when you win the duel, it can be very helpful to take the miners, as this means that you can then start having more items and adding more powerful weapons. But also, if you take a favour card for winning, it might not help you quite so much within the game, but whoever has the most at the end of the game wins. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Just a little tip is that when you win the duel, it can be very helpful to take the miners, as this means that you can then start having more items and adding more powerful weapons. But also, if you take a favour card for winning, it might not help you quite so much within the game, but whoever has the most at the end of the game wins. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Okay, so here's an example of a game in play. We have player 1 to the left and player 2 to the right. Player 1 has their idle zombies that aren't being used here, their favour cards here, their miners that they can use here, the item cards they have, and trick and event cards that they get from the draw deck, their character card, their reference card. Here we have player 1's item cards. So they have their claymore here with 2 ingots, not the 4 completed. So this can't be used in the duel yet. And they also have their codpiece, which does have an ingot and it only has 1. which is this little square here. This is how you tell how many ingots there is if you don't want to read that. And that's complete, so that could be used in the draw. Next up we have the mines. Gold mine, silver mine, copper mine. Player 1 has 1 character there, player 2 has 1 there, so they'll be getting 1 copper card per turn. This player 1 has 2 people on silver, so they'll be getting 1 silver card per turn. They have none on gold, what player 2 does, so they'll be getting 1 gold card per turn. The draw deck is within easy reach of everyone else. Your 3 duel cards out for people to see, and this is player 2. So here are their unable to be used miners right now. Their favour cards, their idle miners, their cards from the draw deck, 2 items that they've paid to play but they haven't built on yet, and their miners on the gold one. I think that's it. Their reference card and their character card. That's it. That's about it about everyone. That's a pretty simple game to play. Great fun. Can last a while, but I highly recommend it. Yeah, give it a go. Tell me what you think. I really enjoyed playing this. It took a very long time to finish, and we ended up saying it was a draw, but it's good fun. Good fun. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment and subscribe. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Bye.